Welcome to Curious Salma. My guest today is someone that I haven't talked to in a very long time. Mostafa Sheshtawy is a cinematographer based in Cairo. His art career in photography started in 2011, then he switched to filmmaking. He's known for the movies Exterior Night by director Ahmed Abdallah and Certified Male by Hisham Sar. Mustafa, thanks a lot for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I am very excited. It's been like 10 years or something since we last talked.
I think so, maybe even more. Can't even remember.
I can't even remember as well. Where did you vanish?
From 2012, I left Egypt. I went to Doha and I worked a bit. I tried filmmaking and photography. That didn't really work. So I had to do corporate life for 3, 4 years while I'm trying to create cinema and art on the side. And once that became a viable option, I moved to Cairo in 2017 and I've been stuck here since.
Stuck here.
Yes.
You're not enjoying the crazy hectic life in Cairo?
No, only psychopaths enjoy Cairo.
That's an extreme statement.
And it's quite true, trust me. Everyone who says I love Cairo is a psychopath. Certified.
Controversial opinion. We're starting with that.
Yeah.
I have my reservations, but you know what I miss about Cairo, to be honest? I miss the randomness of Cairo.
Yeah, well, I understand. I lived in the Gulf and I understand how you would miss the craziness. But yeah, you miss what you don't have.
That not the things that makes you want to pull your hair and like argue with people every day. No, but when you're walking somewhere and you hear someone calling someone a funny name and you start to laugh and everyone in the street start to laugh, these random encounters all the time
Mm.
that anything can literally happen in the street. You can see like there are a lot of random things that occasionally and individually would be fun, but if you have them constantly or times 100 every day, yeah, then you lose your mind literally.
Yeah, it's. I think it's all about the kind of lens you're looking at the world from. So if you think those are cute or those are funny or this is a random way of seeing it, then it could be entertaining, I would say. But usually my lens is now this is super crazy. How are we doing this in 2022? And I cannot stand this anymore. And I need some organization in my life. And I need to give someone an appointment at 1 p.m. and they try to be there before 1:30. I also would appreciate that. So it's a cumulative of how random everything is that becomes frustrating, I would say, in a very uncontroversial way.
Okay. Well, I am excited that you're here and to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for offering to be a guest on my podcast.
Thank you.
We'll get to talk about what you've been up to. So let's start by asking, what are you curious about?
Nice. Okay, I am. I'm curious about stories, a little bit of people, and I would say curious about what other people are passionate about. Yeah, and maybe a little bit of history.
So you mentioned photography. You mentioned that you've been a director for a short time, and then now you're a cinematographer. Tell me, how did your career journey evolve? Like, why did you start with photography? Let's start there.
Okay, it was 2011, and I wanted to be part of the street and joining what's happening, and I wasn't even in Egypt in the beginning. So once I came back, everything has already happened, and I think Twitter was gaining popularity. So I started tweeting from the streets and explaining what's happening. And I realized that there's something called citizen journalism, and I tried to explore that and report from the streets and ask people questions and taking pictures with the phone. And I've always grown up with um, my dad is one of the most vigorous documentary photographer I know. He takes a portrait every year, his entire life, and he used to push us to do the same. And he would take pictures and albums everywhere in the house. So I grew up with that love of photography. But I always thought that I would have a good eye if I take pictures, but I was never really supported from the family because I had to be an engineer. I'm an Egyptian man after all, which it's either an engineer or a doctor. That's our distant
N-
future.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Like, so your dad, sorry, so your dad was a documentarian. Like, I didn't know that actually. That's very interesting. But yet he wanted you to be an
yeah,
engineer.
it's not his job. It's something that he does. He has a camera and he takes pictures of every little thing in our life. But he's a financial accountant. So that's the equivalent of engineer in his generation. So he loves pictures and he takes them all the time. But I don't think he ever thought that's a viable career.
But as a hobby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do it on your free time, but it's still back in the early 2000s, cameras were still expensive, so it's not something that he would invest in. He'd rather, I don't know, give me a computer so I can become a better engineer. But what a camera would do to me, nothing. So they never really invested. So once I reached a point where I really wanted a camera and I didn't know what to do, and I'm never good with saving money, I started to ask people on Twitter as a joke if they could donate for me so I can get a camera. I borrowed a video camera from a friend of mine who was with me in university, and I started taking capturing a lot of videos. It was a handy cam, a lot of videos from the street and from the university. I had a very successful show, fun show in university. And that camera saved my life a couple of times. So it was broken, and that's when I asked Twitter, and I had like 10,000 followers back then, which was a big number, if you guys donate for me and I would get a camera. And people actually started replying and saying, sure, how do we do this? Is there any way that we can donate? And that was way before Kickstarter and those crowd source funding websites. And then a stranger comes to my DMs and says, could get you the camera you want on the one condition that you get me an album of the 2011 uprising pictures that documents what's happening, because my kids are too young to understand. So I want them to have real pictures when they grow up, which was quite noble, but I didn't really believe that someone would offer this. So I didn't know which camera. I Googled Canon beginner camera and I got a name and I just sent it to her without even understanding if that's a good camera or not. 30 minutes later, she DMs me an image of that camera and she says, "You were lucky. It had like an offer of two extra lenses with it. So now my part is done. Your part is to find someone to get it for you. I live in Saudi." And within an hour, I found someone. I was ecstatic with happiness and I couldn't believe that this is real.
Wow, that's such a great story, Mustafa.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Are you still in touch with that person?
Yeah, I gave her the album that she wanted, and I also gave her an album of my images, and I got her other goodies from Egypt. And it's funny, we never really met, but we still in touch. And I actually recently I talked to her son, and I gave him like career advice of because he was choosing universities, and he was remember that was the kid that was too young to understand what's going on. He's going to university next year.
Oh my god, that makes me feel old.
Yep.
But that's such a great story, and yeah, that's why I still love Twitter and social media even after now. It's, yeah, everything is algorithm and saturated and ads in your face all the time and all of that. But I still reminisce about these days where you just can meet strangers online or have these encounters, or you can even save someone's life somewhere else, and that happened also over the years.
Yeah.
Mustafa, you told me now that you have been taking photos for a while, but then you decided to switch, or your career evolved into being a cinematographer. So, what made you choose to be a cinematographer?
So it started by a funny story that I was in a film festival in Doha and I was actually working in the marketing part of it. I was like taking pictures and tweeting and all of that, which that came also from my experience on social media in Egypt. And I was volunteering slash part timing. And I was going to this event that I was covering, and I was in an elevator with 3 4 filmmakers. It was very prestigious, and I liked everything about it. But then a lady comes to me and says and reads my name and says, "Are you Mustafa Sheshtawy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's the last place that I would think anyone would recognize who I am, or at least know my name. And she's British producer, and that's what it says on her ID or her tag that we're all wearing. And she read my tag and she knew my name, and she's like, "I know you. I know your pictures." And I was shook basically. And she says, "I love your pictures. They're great and they're very cinematic. Have you thought about doing filmmaking? And I was like, no, I don't even understand what it means to have a cinematic picture, but thank you. And she was actually a producer of an Egyptian film. That's how she knew my pictures, because she lived in Egypt. And then a few months later, she sends me a message and says, have you thought about going that cinema way? And by then I Googled what a cinematic image is, and I was quite interested. And she says, I can get you a job on set to take pictures behind the scenes of a film that we're shooting in Morocco next summer. And I was surprised and I was grateful, and I said yes. And I started looking into filmmaking and cinema. That didn't happen because of visa issues, but by that time I was already working on set in some projects in Doha, and I was exploring that part in the camera part in the beginning. But then later on, I went into a workshop as a director. I wrote a film, I directed a documentary, and then I directed a short narrative film. And by that time, I realized that I don't want to direct, I actually want to shoot. And I didn't know the difference that much. So one of the mentors um, suggested that I go to US and I learn practical cinematography, that's exactly what I did. And I came back a year later and I was making films. And that mentor is the same guy that I shot my feature with, which is Ahmed Abdullah.
That's awesome. I congratulations with that movie. By the way, I hear a lot of great feedback on that movie, and I believe it won some awards, right?
Yeah, I won plenty of awards actually, and Malmo and Marrakesh, in many places. Yeah, both films won quite a bunch of awards. They both also premiered in the Toronto Film Festival, which is one of the big four film festivals. Um, but one of them was luckier than the other because one in 2019 and the other in 2020, which we screened like a week before COVID hit with lockdowns. So yeah, Certified Male got very unlucky with timing.
Oh, but you're a big shot cinematographer right now. Like, thanks for taking the time to be with me.
I don't think so, but I would, I would always give time to my old friend.
I thought this is like a transition that we can talk into a very, very fun topic, COVID-19.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, so it affected all of us, of course. How do you think it affected your life?
Yeah, can we swear in this podcast?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah,
fucked me over.
definitely.
No, yeah, COVID screwed everything for me. I was actually on my way to have one of the biggest years in 2020. I had six big projects, two in the Middle East, one in Europe, and one in US, and one in Egypt. So I had big plans, and the whole year was planned.
Did you also start the year by saying 2020 is going to be my
Oh
year?
yes, oh yes.
Because I think that's how it.
It was supposed to be the best year ever. I had the most important projects for me to work on, and I was very, very excited. I was this close to pay the entire year's rent in the beginning of the year and say I'm settled and I'm good and I'm no need to like pay every month. I wanna, I'm good. I'm also getting paid big, big money for my next project, so I'm glad I didn't do that. And yeah, I was flying for my first project on March 16th, and lockdown happened March 15th, and that was it. I think I did not do a single day of shooting in 2020. I was actually in Minya when things went crazy. I was giving a workshop and I cut it short, and I Minya for Egypt. Yeah, I was like 5 6 hours away from Cairo giving a workshop, and things were going crazy because also in Egypt, COVID started with a thunderstorm and showers and crazy rains. So we were literally stuck in places we couldn't move for 3 days.
You know where I was at that time?
Where?
So I had just moved to a new place by myself. I was like, I'm ready to live alone. Let's take the step. So I rented a place. I had just been there for 2 weeks, and then it's a complete lockdown. And then, just to give you a picture, it was here that you can go out without like an online permit for a
Oh
month.
yeah.
So yeah, so I was completely stuck, and then you see the thunderstorms here, and it was like bright as day, the lightning and all. So I started to take these videos in the dark and like play Adele's song Skyfall. At one point I literally I literally started to believe that this might have been the apocalypse.
Mm, yeah.
It seemed plausible.
Yeah, it did. It did. Absolutely. It looked like it at least.
So COVID has affected the industry, and you must have learned something in the process, right?
Um, yes, I'm sure I did. I mean, it's quite. I think I. It's not that I learned much, but I think I experienced so many things. I experienced also the slowness life could have. I experienced my lack of, I think, self reflection and just slowing down and thinking, where the hell am I? And I also flirted a little bit with depression. So I've experienced a lot of things I never experienced in my life in that year and a bit.
Wait, so you never experienced depression before COVID?
I don't think so. I'm
Hmm.
quite a bubbly person in a way. So yeah, my girlfriend used to tell me you've never even seen depression. I think she yeah, she jinxed it.
But then after you experienced it, I'm not trying to put a positive spin on things, but like what did you learn? What did you observe during that time?
Um, I observed that I'm a little bit of a workaholic, and I think that work and cinema specifically is the main thing that brings purpose and joy to my life. And I realized that I need other things because this is very unsustainable. And yeah, I should be working on that. But at the moment, I'm working on being more workaholic and trying to feed that part while I'm discovering the other part. Because to be honest, I would rather be shooting movies while realizing what other things I could do to fulfill me, and instead of having nothing and trying desperately to find what other things to fulfill me. Because I would say I think I would lie just to fake a little bit of, because I think I used to do that a lot, just to fake a little bit of fulfillment or happiness, because I need that, because I'm a bubbly person and I need to be positive. So I would find what I need in a in a in a better way if I am actually fulfilled by the things I love. Which I'm not trying to hide it or belittle it, but making movies is,
Have you heard the term toxic positivity?
yes.
Have you ever been guilty of that?
I think so. Yes, yes, definitely. I think I was, and still am. I tend to spin positivity into the conversation, or at least into my, not even the conversation, but into my mindset and how I see things. But I try to be, what do you call it, selective when I do that, and also with who.
Well, here's the thing. People describe me as bubbly. I am energetic around people, but when depression hits or anxiety or whatever, it hits hard on the other side. So you would find yourself like really low in energy, can't interact with anyone. But the thing I've noticed with some people is that they would always try to put a positive spin on things, even if you're telling them about something that you're feeling right now. It's intense feelings of sadness or anger or grief or whatever. And they're like, especially with grief, it's a whole different topic. But like when people come and tell me, oh, they died for you to learn about this and that,
No,
or you must have got out of this stronger, or that, yeah, that really frustrates me
yeah,
because it makes it feel like it's all about me, like every single thing that happens in the world is about me. I'm the center of the universe. This person died so that I would learn a lesson. I know some people believe that and I respect it, but when they impose that kind of belief on me, it upsets me. The whole toxic positivity things, going back to it, I'm all for being a positive and having a positive mindset. By that meaning, like you go every day thinking that, yeah, I will do better, I will get better, I will work on myself. I'm a work in progress. All of that, I am all for it. Celebrating your achievements and all. But that if something sucks, you feel like this sucks. I need to sit with my feelings and feel angry or feel bad. Then do it.
yeah,
Nobody should just take that out of from you and say, oh, you've been mobbing for a while, enough already, go. No, it has to be on your own terms, not anybody's terms. Yeah, so I've been having these kind of conversations about toxic positivity with lots of people lately, because there is some sort of pressure, you must know, like from, especially in our society, I feel like we always have a pressure of let's go. There's not to take time to just absorb your feelings or deal with them, but just like you have to go. Life moves on, life moves on, you know, that whole thing.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I think from all of these experiences, you must have a piece of advice that you would give if someone is starting out in your career.
Yeah, I would say that it's a marathon. So it's quite a long thing. And I think if I would say also networking and having quote unquote friends in the industry is the best thing that one could do. I bubbled myself without many of those friends.
I wanted to ask you, like, if your advice is cool, but like, where can someone who's starting in the career hang out with people like Ahmed Abdullah and you and Amr Salam and all of these? Like, where do these people hang out?
I am nowhere near the cool people in the field, at least physically. Um, Ahmed is a very cool guy. He's very approachable and he's around. He's a quite a low key guy. He's actually shooting a film now, so he can be found in his location. I would say. I'm everywhere. I'm not a I don't go to like art meetups or these things, but I'm always up. I meet a lot of people who are starting, and they would send me a message and saying, "I don't know where I am. I would love to start, and I don't know where." And I always send them, if you are serious, let's meet for coffee and we can talk. And I usually go and meet them, and
That's so sweet.
yeah, I mean, I
So you are approachable.
of course, I would always love to help. I always help up and coming um, filmmakers or artists in any way I can. I know someone who we are both. I shoot film a lot, the 35 millimeter, the analog photography. So I know a guy who's also an analog photography gearhead and crazy, but he loves cinema. So actually, I connected him with Ahmed, who's shooting his film, and now he's shooting behind the scenes in his movie. And he just sent me a message yesterday. He's like, "This is the best experience I've had in my life, and I'm so ecstatic, and I couldn't sleep." And he was super happy. And this is also how I started.
That is very sweet.
Yeah, you never know if that's his life calling or not. So imagine that you could have a chance to connect someone with their life calling of why they are alive and how they can feel way more alive than anything else in the world. That's an amazing achievement.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Mustafa, do you have a favorite productivity hack?
Yeah, waking up early. Yeah, that's it.
What's your morning routine look like?
I don't really have a routine, but I would say in the most productive day, I would wake up. It depends on how early I want to wake up, but 6 or 7 is quite a good time. I would wake up, coffee, shower if needed. It depends if it's summer or winter, and then a writing phase or some. So I would do the productive thing I need to do, which in our field, it which is funny. A lot of my friends are always envious that most of my homework is actually watching movies. So if I have a film that I'm about to shoot, I would watch 20, 30, maybe 50 movies in that time. So I'd be busy. So if someone would call me, is like, what are you doing? Why are you busy? I'm watching movies, which is which could be a
That's
yeah,
amazing. That's amazing.
but yeah, I mean, sometimes it's also hectic. This one, I was doing this certified mail. I was shooting it. Before I was shooting it, I watched around 60 films, and at least 50 of those 60 were depressive movies. Like insanely depressive. And I was watching at least one movie a day. And I remember in 2 weeks, I sent the director a message and I saying, I'm taking a break. I am super down and I can't take it anymore. I don't want to think about films. I don't want to think about this kind of films. And I think I'm depressed and I want to watch Toy Story for a week. And that's kind of what I did. Which I watched happy stuff for a week so I can recharge. Because films end up consuming me. I'm that kind of character.
Honestly, I never thought about this before. Like I never thought that, yeah, you can get, of course, you can get burnout from watching all of these in a row. This is very tough, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you took action and took care of your mental health back then, because that's how it starts. Like if you neglect a burnout or, feeling overwhelmed, it just gets worse.
To be honest, I was and I still am discovering, but back then, which is 4 or 5 years ago, I had no clue about mental health that much, and I had no clue about how to take care of yourself and your mental health and your spirit. I was winging life in a way. I got lucky that I never got a proper slap in the face, but thanks to COVID, that was that part. But by then, I had some information how to deal with life. Still discovering it, but I was not in a super solid ground, but not on completely rocky ground. If that's clear.
Well, we're all winging it, man.
Hmm.
We're all winging it.
Yeah, but you would wing with some information sometimes better.
So yeah, so if you can tell your 18-year-old self something, if you can give them a piece of advice, what would it be?
18, I was what, in third year? Oh shit. That's the year I failed the most in university. I would say chill, it doesn't matter. You're never gonna be an engineer anyways. But I would say that time is your best ally uh in a way. So just let time do its work. You do your part and you'll be fine.
Wow, I felt that.
Mm. I think I was telling that to my 34-year-old self, which is me now.
We need to tell that to ourselves now, and because what we have is now, actually, if you think about it, like this is just a theoretical question about your old self. But to deal with my anxiety, for instance, I keep reminding myself that what I have is just now. The worry about the future, I don't have the future yet, and the past is over. So what I can just tell myself is now, yeah, you will be fine, or you are fine. If I am fine in the moment, I'm physically safe. I have to remind myself with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mustafa, since you're all about movies, what movie gets stuck in your head all the time?
Okay, there is this one film that is very underrated and a lot of people don't know it. It's called Road to Perdition. It's a Tom Hanks film, actually, which he plays a gangster, which is very different from his normal roles. It's such a beautiful film. I think the films that touch me the most are father son movies, which I just realized that recently. And that is a father son film. It's quite a complex movie. It's an American film, and yeah, I love that film for so many ways. As a story, as direction, and as a cinematography as well. One of the best cinematographers ever shot this film, and it's directed by Sam Mendes. The cinematographer is called Conrad Hall, who a British cinematographer who died in 2002, I believe. It's the one who shot American Beauty as well. So Road to
So you
Perdition.
know your movies.
Oh, I mean, I do a little bit. So I do know most industries, but I'm not those can kind of people like this Yugoslavian film that was shot in the 1950s. That was this. I know I'm not that kind of person. I know American movies the most, and then some European films.
You don't have a 10 minutes ovation for movies?
I fucking hate that whole can idea of calculating how many minutes of standing ovation for each film. It's the stupidest. It's like okay, seriously.
Do they really? I didn't even know
Oh, you
that.
don't
They
know?
they actually count.
Yes.
They count how many minutes, like 7 or 10 or
Yeah,
11.
can
Okay.
is the thing that so when they tell you you just Google can now and any film they will tell you this film had a 12-minute standing ovation. This film had a 7-minute stand. It's like penis measurement contest. It's one of the silliest things ever. And films just, my film had a 12-minute standing ovation, dude. How long did yours have? And it feels like that. So it's so stupid.
You're not worried about missing your invitation to Cannes next year.
I don't give a single fuck about Cannes, or to be honest, at this moment, about any festival in the world. Because I've been to a few, and I hate that. To be honest, this is not why I'm doing this. I'm doing it to be on set, not in a festival where people are just. Um, I don't care, and also my kind of job, we don't get any spotlight. So for me, I don't care even double, because some festivals. So there is one festival that is made for cinematographers, and this is one of the best festivals in the world. So every discussion is people just talking technicals and images and camera movements and technology. It's very, very cool. Instead of just someone saying, this scene was so touchy that it felt my soul, and I understood that this guy was talking to the god. And you would end up that just it was out of focus, dude. No one saw anything. What are you talking about? So yeah, I'm passionately hating those festivals.
I'll tell you a funny and embarrassing story.
Mhm.
So I'm all for symbolism and stuff, but sometimes I don't just see it when I'm watching movies. So do you remember the movie Mother?
Yes.
So I watched that movie and I loved Jennifer. What's her name? Uh, anyway, that Jennifer.
Yeah,
There are
I
lots of them.
forgot her name as well.
I loved her in the movie and all, but the thing is, I left the movie very confused. I didn't understand what I'm seeing,
Mhm.
what actually happened, who's that, blah blah blah. And then my friend, he was passionate about movies and reviewing actually, and he's like, "It's very clear. This is the Earth, and she's the mother, and all of this." And I had to read a lot of reviews online to understand what I watched.
Mhm.
And I felt so embarrassed by this because I have watched the whole movie and I didn't get it. It wasn't clear to me what's happening. Who are these people? Who are these, you know,
Mm.
why her husband is leaving her with a lot of spoilers. But anyway,
No.
so yeah, sometimes I just don't get it. I don't get the symbolism, but I love some of it. Like I was watching Doctor Strange recently, and there is a scene. I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a scene that I've seen with there was a chair over the sea, and I kind of felt that it reflects about. Yeah, I'm going to be that person now. I felt that it reflects about Doctor Strange and how he's alone and all of that shit.
Mm.
Sometimes I do get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's about how you present it, and sometimes if it's way too complicated, yeah, no one will get it. But sometimes also people reflect their own ideas and beliefs and thoughts into your art, which the best part of art. You don't have to.
I was just going to say, yeah,
Yeah, you don't have to.
that's art.
Yeah, I hate actually explaining why I did things. So I hate to explain this. No, this is not what we meant. We meant this and that. It's like, if you think we meant this, fantastic, man, go for it. If we think we did not mean this and we meant other things, or if you didn't get it, if you get something else, it's for your own interpretation. Because if I correct it, well, that means you've somehow ruining your experience, or at least tweaking your experience. No, you should go all the way with your own experience and leave with it. And yeah, you can discuss it with friends and all of that, but that's something else. But discussing with filmmakers, especially the ones who did the film, yeah, I always try to not tell my thoughts and my beliefs of how I saw the scene. I could discuss it as a viewer. We can discuss any of the films I made, but I would never tell you understood it wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And you shouldn't. Like, it would be a little condescending, to be honest. But,
Yeah, but you have
but yeah.
it happens in every festival. It's super funny.
But I love that. At one point in Egypt, I had a book club, book and movie club, where we would suggest. a movie and a book
Nice.
because I wanted to mix both things. Like I wanted to read more, but I also like watching movies. But the thing about discussing how you perceive that movie, why it did why that scene, what did it mean to you, all of that. That's I can spend hours doing that. Honestly, this podcast can just be about me talking about things I love watching.
Nice. Well, what is the film that is stuck in your head from that time?
The film that is stuck in my head, I can tell you that you'll judge me.
Never, never.
Two movies,
Hmm.
Begin Again
Hmm.
and La La Land.
Nice. Okay.
Even though La La Land got all of the hype and all, like Begin Again, they say it's not a musical, but it's all about music. I love movies that are about musicians and their tortured souls and all of that.
Oh, it's the Mark Ruffalo movie. Oh, okay. Yo, I love that film.
You've seen it, huh?
Yeah, I've seen it in the cinema.
Yeah, me too. That movie, yeah, I kind of empathized a lot with Mark Ruffalo or his character in the movie and how he was just trying to find hope again in life and all of that. But also, like the whole thing, honestly, a lot of things about this movie get stuck in my head. And the first song in the movie, have you seen? Do you remember that scene when he was imagining musicians behind her playing?
Yes.
That's one of the best scenes I've ever seen in my life till now.
Nice.
And the song itself, for me, it felt authentic. It felt that it is about musicians, and that musicians were behind the movie, right?
Mm.
Unlike La La Land, for instance, where they had to teach both of the actors like how to dance and sing and all of that.
Hmm.
La La Land is a musical, but my point is with La La Land, it's more about the spirit of the dreamers that catch me with the movie. Like La La Land is a very people are opinionated about it. They either love it or hate it with passion.
Ah, yeah.
So for me, I love it because it just portrays accurately the spirit of dreamers and how life can take them other places, but they, are idealists. Like, I mean, yeah, the movie is all about music. I love it, but what I mean is like, unlike Begin Again, it had already a couple of musicians. With La La Land, they had to teach the actors. Like, I didn't believe Ryan Gosling's. Acting much when he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to save jazz" and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
while what's her name, Emma Stone,
Mm-hmm.
she was playing, I felt that she was playing herself like 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and that's why she won the Oscar. I feel like she captured it accurately. Anyway,
Yeah. I agree completely. I didn't like Ryan Gosling in the role at all. I think someone else could have played it better.
I didn't hate it, of course, but I mean, as I said, it wasn't that believable for me
Hmm. Okay.
as much as Emma Stone.
Yeah.
I have a segment in my show called "Everyone Should Stop, Fill in the Blanks."
I'm not sure. Everyone should stop. What? Because I have a long list of stops.
I was just going to say, for someone who's as opinionated as you must have a list.
Yeah.
Should stop talking during movies.
Oh fuck yes! Everyone should.
See?
No, everyone should treat the cinema like a church or a mosque. Everyone should just take off their shoes and be quiet and not talk and not eat freaking popcorn and most annoying food that you can have in a fucking theater. But I would say everyone should stop correcting other people's thoughts and opinions and ideas. Everyone should stop correcting because people online, they care more about correcting people than argument or sharing ideas. They're like, if you want to make Twitter angry, just type a even misspelled word or a information, even in the most painful or at least unhurtful way. Just write that this film was in 1995 instead of 1994, and you would get way more comments correcting you than actually.
I don't want to jinx it, but my Twitter is really calm, which makes me feel like no. It gives me the comfort that I act like nobody's actually reading what I'm writing.
I can relate.
So it's good. I don't want it to change. What's one question you wish that I had asked you, and how would you have answered?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? No, I hate that question. I'm joking. That's a very difficult question. I've seen this question asked to one of the philosophers. I can't remember his name now, and he's just said, "I want you to ask me how am I?" And he started crying after that. So I feel like I want to do the same. What was his name? I can't remember his name. Steve Steen or something like that. I can't remember. I'm shitty with names. Okay, if you can make your favorite film ever, what would that be about? And I wouldn't know how to answer that.
You wouldn't answer?
I wouldn't know how, but I would say I would maybe, if I can replace a filmmaker in any film in any era in the world and take their job in that specific film, which one would I choose? That actually would be a very cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, that would be super cool.
Thanks for adding to my question list.
Yes.
Yeah, and the answer is
I think I would shoot Skyfall. I would take the cinematographer's job in Skyfall.
yeah, it must have been really cool.
Yes, definitely a Bond movie, but it was also done in a cinematic way. It wasn't done in a Bondy way where the producers are all over the film and doing that shitty job they do.
I honestly haven't watched it, so
Oh,
not
it's
gonna
the
lie.
best Bond, so you're up for a treat.
I'm not into the whole Bond film thing, but yeah, I should because that was one of the highest rated movies I think in the recent years.
Yeah, he's the same director of Road to Perdition, that one film I told you about, that one of my favorites, and also the same director of American Beauty. He's an interesting director, Sam
Oh,
Mendes.
interesting.
Hmm.
It's a full circle.
Yeah, he also made 1917.
Wow. Hmm.
Hmm, check
Interesting.
him out.
You know, I like that Greek. If you're asking me about directors, I don't know many directors honestly, but I like that Greek one who does like really disturbing movies. What's his name?
Yorgos
Who did the
Tsarkarakakos.
lobster?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know his full
yeah.
name.
As soon as I see his name on a movie, no offense, we're sorry, guy. As soon as I see his name on a movie, I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, he's cool.
So
Have you seen all of
yeah.
his films, like The Sacred Deer and The Favorite?
I've watched all of them. The only one, yeah, the favorite.
Ah.
Listen, the favorite for me because it introduced the world to Olivia Colman, and I love her. So it's a big deal, and I always want to watch it and can't find it anywhere with the decent quality. You know,
Mm.
so I'm waiting on that.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. You should watch his first film. Have you ever seen it? Dogtooth? That's his second, I think.
I heard about it, but I haven't. I
Such a
haven't watched it.
psycho film.
Okay, I'm all for that right now.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Mustafa, where can listeners find you online?
They can find me on Instagram. My name on Instagram, Mostafa Sheshtawy. They found it on search. And I also my website, which is msheshtawy.com.
Great. I'll add that in the notes. I can't thank you enough for this conversation and this discussion. I really had fun and I laughed a lot. So thanks a lot for sharing.
Thank you. That was really fun.
Let's do it again, hopefully soon.
Yeah, let's do it off the record so we can swear a little bit more.
That's so far the most explicit show I've done, by the way, so far.
It's they say swearing is it comes from the heart.
Yeah, it's healing. It's healing in a way.
Yes, so you would at least know that I'm not really bullshitting.